Hello.
Thank you for coming today.
Yes. So, hi. Before we start, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay respect to the elders in both past and present and future. Hello. We are both concept artists from Gameloft, Brisbane. Woo! Got a few of us in the crowd.
Cartwheels, yeah.
We're super excited here to talk to you here today. We're going to talk about how to approach creativity with an already established IP and how we approach this in a fun way.
Yeah.
We would be doing this by looking at our latest game, My Little Pony Main Merge. Sorry, I'm going to stutter a lot. My Little Pony Main Merge. A multiple award-winning game that has also been nominated for an actor this year. Thank you. It was a great experience working on this project. We had a lot of fun creating some sparkly and colourful concepts.
Awesome. Alrighty, so hey guys, my name's Dustin. I've been working with Gameloft for around 5.5 years now, and as well as working in games, I've previously worked in animation on the Deep, and with Nickelodeon doing some character designs and backgrounds and stuff. I've also worked with book publishers, and I have a book series that I've worked on named How to Make a Pet Monster. You can see it up there, that really cool green dude, very interesting. But yeah, having worked with Gameloft for many years now, I've also worked on some of our earlier games like Ballistic Baseball, The Oregon Trail, and our latest game, My Little Pony Main Merge, which was very fun to work on.
All right, and I'm Amee. I've been at Gameloft starting this month now, officially, for 2 years. Thank you. But I've been in the game industry for about 3 now. I've worked on a number of things, including my own webcomic, Alien Boy, which is that cover there. It has over 200k views on Tapas. I've also had the amazing opportunity to help the Summerfall team out with the newest game, Stray Gods, which has also been nominated for multiple awards for the AGDA. Shout out. And also I've worked on My Little Pony Main Merge. Sweet. And currently working on secret things, but let's not talk about that.
Cool secret things. Alrighty, so just to give you guys a background onto My Little Pony. So My Little Pony started in the 1980s, and it's a brand that has resonated with millions of people across the globe. It's a massive IP, and this year we're celebrating 40 years of it, so that's a pretty big milestone to meet. Question for anyone in the audience, have you actually heard of My Little Pony? Can I get some people? Okay, sweet. That's really cool. Talking to some fans out there. Let's go. So, when taking on this project, we had to keep the history of the fans in check, and also look at what was going to be creatively fun, appealing, enticing when we were making our concepts, and things that would resonate with fans and that would remain faithful to the brand as well. So our game, My Little Pony Main Merge, as Amee has mentioned, is based on the current Generation 5 of the brand, and it's a creative and really kind of bold take, I guess, from the previous generations on the pony designs of the past, whilst also embarking on multiple kind of different changes that we were thinking of that proved really exciting and challenging to work on. So,
All right, so looking at the history of My Little Pony as a brand, we found it was important to look at Gameloft's history associated with it and how it might inform our concepts moving forward. My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, later renamed Magic Princess, is a super popular game with the My Little Pony community. The game was released on November 8th, 2012 on iOS and Android, and it's still holding really strong in that community. So we had a lot to look up to.
Yeah.
In 2021, it introduced the world to the new ponies with the movie My Little Pony: A New Generation. Set in a time where the story of Twilight Sparkle from the last generation and her friends is considered a myth. This is set way in the future now. Sunny Stark Scout, Izzy Moonbow, Hitch Trailblazer, Pip Petals, and Zip Storm were our new characters to work with.
Yeah. Very cool characters, by the way. So this is our basic roadmap for our talk today. So we're going to go over basically, we've talked about what is My Little Pony now. We're going to look at the importance of researching when concepting, We're going to look at designing for kids in particular, creating fan appeal, so looking, at the research that we've gotten from, be it HQ or our own kind of internal work. Also understanding the brand, developing new concepts based off things that were already made, concepting out techniques to make things really flush and really quick and clean. And then what did we learn from this process and how can we move forward from that? We'll go through these steps.
All right, now let's first start out with our trailer. Here's our game. So, come on every pony, we must save Equestria. Our darkness is creeping through the lands, causing chaos to the earth ponies of Maritime Bay. Through to the unicorns in Bridalwood and even the Pegasi soaring above the clouds in Zephyr Heights. Saddle up and help Main 5, Sunny, Izzy, Zip, Pip and Hitch as they work together to investigate what or who is behind the dark curse.
Ooh. Evil. So much evil.
All right, so let's summarize. Equestria is covered with these vines, and it's in danger. We need to clear them up. The vines in My Little Pony May Merge are a big feature that we spent a lot of time concepting and thinking about. They were a definite main feature of our game being introduced to the world in World Quest and on the merge board itself. Players had to merge and create sparkle to counteract evil, and we'll go into this more later. So this is our merge board. You have to merge items, fulfill pony wishes, create happiness, which creates sparkle, in order to fix items. Here's an example below of how merge works as well. I'm sure you've all played merge games before. It's that kind of gist. And then the end, we save the day, and it's all rainbow and happiness.
That's me and Amee at the end of the day. When we get concepts done, we're like, yep. Yes! Hell yeah! So, we had to look back at the appeal of the brand. So branding, visual aspects of the characters and environments, and the direction of the brand of every iteration, not just Generation 5. We wanted to create an interesting and memorable concepts that paid tribute to the previous generations, as well as expanding on the new generation's visuals. So, you've coming from 2D, a little bit of 3D, toys, etc. So a lot of things to kind of look at and take in as research. So it was a big project to start off with, but we kind of conglomerated it all. But so while the latest feature films and Netflix specials were done in 3D, there was also the 2D production named My Little Pony Tell Your Tale that features a really stylized version of the characters that harkens back to the previous Generation 4 designs. So the color palettes, the visual designs, and the overall brand, they were set in that sense. So we referenced that, and then we looked at the earlier designs before that as well, and established a continued modernization of that visual style to remain current with modern animations, like looking at what was coming out now and what was really cool looking as well. So, but we also needed to keep in mind that we needed to have the core brand visuals as our backing and our foundations, which were obviously very highly colorful designs and very appealing things. So while we revamped these over the years, My Little Pony had initially started with very colorful characters featuring manes to brush their beautiful, beautiful manes, and featuring symbols on their sides, which now are known as cutie marks, which you can see on there. They're really cool. Might get a tattoo, I don't know. Which establishes the pony's personality, and then that followed on to other generations later. So using this as a base, we then started to develop concepts of these ponies and the environments that beckon back to this legacy, while maintaining the modern aesthetic that we were trying to establish for ourselves as well.
Yeah, so let's just go to what Gameloft Brisbane is. So it's filled with amazing artists, designers, programmers, producers, directors, and staff members from diverse backgrounds. Many who might have a memory of My Little Pony from the 80s, or to someone that is currently watching the latest generation with their kids, or we have some fans as well at our studio. We needed to find our sparkle and get creative and thinking very pony. So here's how we did this. Here's us enjoying some smoothies at a My Little Pony party we had.
Launch party, right?
Our launch party, yes. Yeah. So this was our concepts down below, and this is us recreating the smoothies.
Yes.
We had a fun, sparkly photo booth. We recreated some of our cupcakes. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, getting the whole studio on board like really enforced what we were designing as well, because you could go to an animator, you could go to a 3D modeler, or your art director or whoever, and everyone would have like a really good base to kind of talk off. So yeah, it was really fun. Yeah,
and we also created like fun videos as I'm playing now, and we posted our art around the studio. We also hosted very is our Ponyfied studio. We hosted parties with people dressing up on theme. We had fun recreating some of the delicious looking food and drinks. Having these types of events really helped us get into thinking about the brand and how we could be faithful to its pillars, while also having fun and just creating cool, exciting new concepts for it. Here's our team. Very exciting. All right, so let's move on to importance of researching.
Alrighty, so My Little Pony is a rich IP. It's got so much content and lore around it. It was really important for us to research the core and style of each of its contents so that we could avoid any mistakes and clashing. My Little Pony Make Your Merge has a really unique tone of voice compared to its earlier predecessors, and it was really crucial that we stuck to these core pillars that Hasbro provided us with. Of course, when it comes to concept art, you're always wanting to create your own visual stamp, right? Like you want to make some really cool stuff, like awesome stuff. But you've also then got to have guidelines within that. So we created our own guidelines to follow, and then we made sure that we were still maintaining within that brand pillar, brand consistency, all the while keeping our fires burning. We literally had to merge the two.
Thank you.
Laugh.
Okay. So our morning routine usually involved the following: watching the latest episodes of Tell Your Tale, which was the 2D My Little Pony episodes, checking out the My Little Pony forums, and coffee. Lots and lots of coffee. This helped us keep up to date with the latest content and how fans were reacting to it. So at the beginning, even throughout this project, a major part of our process is researching. We needed to stay within the framework without branching out into anything unrelated, but having to design way over 100 items and create new areas for an already established IP came with its hurdles. For example, when looking at character items and accessories, we needed to look at the color schemes, design motives, and lore that revolved around that character. We would then further reference, be it like real world or previous My Little Pony content, and then expand our concepts based on this. It would be things like including cutie marks for each specific character into items such as bags, smoothies, roller skates, or whatever it may be. One of our main aims was to always make sure we got back to the current generation's designs, but also having some creativity within that. So here's an example of just us analysing the character, just briefly, their colours, what they like, etc. Ponies are like onions. Let us explain.
But a thing we wanted to avoid when creating these ponies is taking them for face value, right? So Sunny is an earth pony turned alicorn. So that's a merge of all three types of ponies. So that's an earth pony, a Pegasus, and a unicorn. And she also roller skates and makes smoothies on the side as well, which is really cool. So obviously we could have left it there, but we could have just said, let's just concept these as an orange or pink smoothie and stick a cutie mark on it and call it a day. Simple, but boring, right? So it lacked heart, it lacked depth, and it makes our jobs less fun. So researching the character arcs and looking what were the fun facts about the characters really broadened our creativity. And we were able to create items with a lot more personality. So looking at Sunny, she's also a baker. She's also a huge fan of Twilight Sparkle from Generation 4. She's very adventurous, like everywhere, let's go. But yeah, Small things like that really broaden our options and how we were able to create a lot of items just based off one character. So just little prompts really helped with that.
Yeah. We researched everything available to us about the world and these characters, even down to the trash. What is being eaten and discarded in these areas? What environment style is common? A bin in Bridlewood is going to look much different to one in Zephyr Heights. This type of research is important for making the locations feel more believable and lived in. We did a lot of research on other games within the merge category, paying attention to items and looking at how they tackled readability and looking at how they would expand their item tree. We found starting with junk and ending with something shiny and fun was a formula most used in these games. So we started designing hammers and paint buckets and things like that. But the problem was we were designing for a different audience and this wasn't visually appealing enough for kids or anything. So we had to think of a whole new way to merge. How do you take an already bedazzled and interesting item and make it more fun and sparkly? Then how do we do that 9 more times? Keeping in mind the area we had to work in is also quite small. These were for mobile devices. How do we avoid any noise or readability?
So, looking at our character item trees, it was a similar approach in that we needed to look at the characters' already established backgrounds, their color schemes, their characteristics, things that made them unique. So gathering all of those different references and ideas was key and really helped us when we needed to create new content such as like our items, stickers, or really anything. So one of the challenges for creating items was that we had multiple levels of each one. So we need to look at what would work as a base item, so that would be a really foundation level kind of thing, and that would represent the character very clearly but still be expressive, identifiable across, like your tiny little mobile screens or up on a TV screen. Then we needed to do that again for the next upgrade in the item tree, and then again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and let's times that by 1 million. But we'll go into that a little bit later. But yeah, a lot of items, but they were very fun to work on.
We will also mention about this item that our UI art team played a key part in this, ensuring that all our items were readable against whatever background they were up against, and that the sizes weren't incredibly small where a child might struggle to interact with it. Talking about UI team, Brooke, our senior UI artist at Gameloft, did a fantastic talk yesterday about designing readable and interesting UI for kids. These were techniques we also had to take in consideration when we had to create our concepts. So let's move into designing for kids.
Alrighty. So the audience that we were targeting towards were kids under 12, and their parents were a secondary target, which we were neither of. So how do we approach this? How do we relate ourselves to this demographic and to understand it more? Usually as adults, it can be a challenging task to make something appealing, fun for the younger audiences, right? Yes, we were once kids ourselves, but dealing with taxes, bills, buying a lot of comics that I shouldn't have bought, we tend to forget how it was like. But getting into their mindset was key.
So how did I, a grown adult who loves the horror genre, find a love of friendship and sparkles? Luckily, My Little Pony has a long history, so it wasn't too hard to find a connection from one of its many diverse contents. Plus, the brand has so many ideologies to draw inspiration from. Hasbro's purpose for this series is to inspire girls to explore, express, and celebrate what makes them unique in a world where believing amazing things happen when we embrace each other's uniqueness. This resonates with the shy kid in my heart and really inspired me to make something important for the young generation. I wanted them to grow up and have fond memories of this game. This was my connection.
Yeah. So I found my inspiration in all of the main 5, essentially, in one shape or form. They all have certain aspects and creative qualities that, I think I could draw upon when making concepts for them. So things like looking at the creative silliness of Izzy, Pip's musical tunes that she's jamming out, and Hitch's strong love of looking after other ponies and the little critters that we'll get onto in a little bit were some of the things that I always had to keep in the back of my mind when, it could be designing like stickers and stuff like that. But having that just there would always help. But I'd definitely say Hitch is my main boy over there. That crab on top. Let's go, crab people.
All right, so following on, Hasbro has a cool pillar to follow when designing for kids, which helped us a lot. It gave us an age range for their core audience and the vibe they wanted to give to the series. It was refreshing to see the brand had branched out into a more diverse option, looking at the trendy cool side of things with a wide range of different personalities. Meet our target consumer, Ava, a 5-year-old girl who is in a constant state of permanent entertainment, funny and always on the go. She's spunky, adventurous, and she's trying to make friends for the first time. This resonated with a lot of people in our studio and brought us back to our childhood, wanting adventures, fun, and good friends. So this was our target audience. With this user persona in mind, it wasn't difficult to think of the vast amount of trendy and imaginative things. Would Ava prefer a yummy, colourful smoothie or a delicious, tangy smoothie with a big cherry pie on top? Just going that bit extra was always the way to go.
So design-wise, we had to look at that there was a struggle of making items readable when you're working across, like a very tiny screen and then maybe like a TV screen, etc. So working on the same items for weeks on end, you could really lose track of what's working or not. You might be working on your Cintiq screen or your tablet, etc., and you're not seeing it at the same size all the time. So that was something that we really had to focus on while we're going through things. But thankfully, we had a really good research department at Gameloft Paris, where they were able to play test with children and their parents of our targeted demographic, which really helped us to understand what items could or children couldn't understand, essentially. The bracelet was a really good example of this and needed a lot of reworking, so you can see up there.
So these two bracelets belong to different characters and you can't actually merge them in our game, but they look like they can merge together. So it was things like that we had to keep in mind.
Yeah. So, even still, My Little Pony has a really diverse audience other than just Ava in mind. You have the parents that will interact with our game, and you also have the audience that were just fans from the previous generations. The age demographic is really broad. So, how do we have a concept in mind for them as well, and how will we be able to achieve this?
Easter eggs. We had to put reference from some of the earlier generations. Here's an example of how we did it for sandcastles and just some of our items. We used it from generation 4 or even to some of the first generation stuffs, and we had a lot of fun doing that, researching and adding things where we could.
Yeah.
Bringing back the classics, which was why research was important. Yet there was no time to throw ourselves into all the information My Little Pony had to offer, so we used most of our energy absorbing the most recent stuff. Pip's Spotify podcast, official comics of the Generation 5, and even fan forum discussions. We even watched YouTube videos of fans reacting to new episodes. There was just a whole library of inspiration, and their enthusiasm helped fuel our creative fires more. Finding something to fanboy or girl about too. It could be finding a pony we really liked or a story arc we found interesting. For me, I really liked Izzy. You gotta love what you create. So for me, it was super important to find that connection. And I just loved that character. She was superstitious and creative and quirky. That was my connection.
Awesome. Another character that I really had fun to work on was Zip. Beautiful mane, and they have ability to fly as well. So you can see here, amazing. So cool. I wish I could do that. But yeah, it created some really good prompts for us to concept off as well. Not just on the ground, airborne, different colors and stuff, different lighting things. It was really fun. Zip also, we created some interesting props that help bring out some ideas for their poses as well. Zip's like a detective as well, not no spoilers, etc. But yeah, a lot of really cool parts about that character that I really enjoyed working on, and created some cool narratives for stickers and stuff as well. So, another important part in creating interesting and fan appealing part was content. Looking at some of the secondary characters as well. So we're looking at our critters and how we could use them in our concepts to create something fans would love to see. We had a lot of fun doing the designs for the flying rat and the flying snail, which you can see up there in their beautiful looking designs there. They were very fun. But between the concept and 3D team, we had a lot of inside jokes and fun creating them. And it was really cool to see fans reacting the same way that we did as well. So, of course, we kept adding as much as we could of them into, any content that we could. And, collecting those stickers for me was a highlight as well.
So stickers in our game is something that fans could go around and collect after finishing some quests. So these are just some examples as well of them. We'll go more into it later. Also recreating some scenes that had featured in the movie that fans would pick up on. In the movie My Little Pony: A New Generation, the character Izzy has moments of objects getting stuck on her horn. The bean tin joke was a fan favourite, so here was just another instant that we gave a nod to them. Looking at discussions online and feedback, it really gave us some good prompts for these concepts.
So when working on stickers, it was really important to think about keeping continuity across both the concepts and the narrative. Different character relationships resonate stronger with fans. So we had to make sure that certain characters would appear together, or that like a character and a critter would appear together as well. So for example, Hitch and his beloved new dragon baby Sparky that you can see there in the top left is just an amazing character, by the way. Was very interesting to work on. He's adorable, and that gave us some really good opportunities to create some really kind of over-the-top moments that we hadn't really had beforehand as well. We already knew this was this character and Hitch was going to be like a fan favorite. So we really tried to recognize that those character moments were going to be a big thing for us, and we built a lot of stickers and things on that.
Creating these fun Easter egg concepts are aimed appealing for the broader audience and of our fans. We felt like we were bringing together not just creative and interesting ideas, but we were also creating a holistic visual of the 5 generations of My Little Pony. Looking at the different content, be it the iconic pony toys or some of the previous generations' movies and TV shows, we tried to embrace its rich visual history and aim to create something magical fans could get excited over, letting them know that we were just as passionate. While ourselves became fans of My Little Pony, we also needed to think about what we wanted to add to the current Generation 5 visuals. This then leads us to the development of our concepts.
Alrighty. So, when building out our locations, a lot of them in the game weren't actually established yet in the Generation 5 universe. The movie had only just come out, and we had only just got some of the really early visual development references or concepts to go off from. So there was no Maritime Beach, we'd only seen a darker side of Zephyr Valley, and we hadn't seen Bridlewood much at all, to be honest. So figuring out how we could work on this and what the expansion of these places could possibly look like was a really interesting challenge. We made sure to learn on the culture of what each place was like.
So, Maritime Bay felt like a sunny coast with great food and relaxing atmosphere. Studying the environment and the aesthetic, we were able to create something that felt like fit in this cute town. Dusty had designed a fun volleyball net for the ponies in an earlier concept before the special came out with anything. So we didn't know much about the beach. So later on in the cartoon series, they also came out with a similar idea, and it let us know we were right on track for the feeling of what this beach was meant to be like.
So Zephyr Heights is another location, and it's a bustling, stylish city full of glamour and excitement. The valley that leads there, though, is dark, barren, and misty. We felt that this was done for the movie because of a kind of small narrative purpose, and decided to go livelier instead. Bring it up, pony-fied, essentially. So we need to create something that we felt that Pegasi would like to hang out in. Hikes and cute park picnics within the cities, and we'd look at other things that we could push into the route and that felt suited to the e-social and glamorous lifestyle of the Pegasi of Zephyr Heights.
Yeah, so we've added, as you can see, some colourful picnic areas, a glamorous picnic area. We have signs that are pointing to the city, and they're all electronic. Added some nice colourful looking plants in this desolated valley as well, just to lively it up a bit.
Yeah.
So Bridalwood is a mellow, artsy and mystic forest full of superstition. In the movie, we had only visited Izzy's treehouse and a poetry slam tea house, but we wanted to explore further into this enchanting area. The ponies here are a lot more moodier than the other places, so it was super fun to think outside the box here. Originally, I wanted to add a hoof reading booth, like a palm reading booth for Izzy, but we never needed it. My pleasant surprise when the series came out with a special of Izzy doing just that, really confirming to us that we were understanding the unicorn vibe Hasbro was trying to create. So in these concepts, we've got like a nice trendy market where they sell crystals and other tea leaves and things like that.
Some cool flower archways on the top left there. Yeah, they were really fun. So for My Little Pony, it was a definite choice to make even the most small, basic thing eye-catching and fun to interact with. We had heart-shaped rock pools, rainbow furniture, interesting fauna. Everything needed to be ponified. So that was basically like the word within the art team, and I guess within the whole studio, it was like ponify everything when you can. So we use that a lot. How can we ponify this rock or this leaf or anything, the most basic thing?
Yeah, so like examples of a rock pool, we made it into a love heart, rainbow in all the furniture, hearts in all the furniture, even just the crates were pink and with cute stickers. So adding even the smallest detail for accuracy. Also, for an example, that beach chair down below, ponies don't use stairs. Can you imagine a pony using a stair? So I noticed there were ramps everywhere, so even just that lifeguard chair used a ramp.
So onto our vines. So these tendril yet not too frightening vines are spread out by our main antagonist, Opaline. We needed to make sure that they represented fire, alicorn magic, and evil, as this was Opaline's entire jam. She's pretty hardcore. Because of this, the visual aspect of the vines required a lot of different concepts, and here's what went right and wrong when we were coming up with ideas.
So, designing the vines was a tough challenge. We wanted something a little more menacing that the main five had to challenge and overcome, but we found ourselves going too scary at first. The vines were tendril or even serpentine-like and resembled something almost Cthulhu-esque, which really was not appealing to our target demographic. The last thing we want is to give nightmares to little Ava. It was a lot of trial and error. Our iterations went from dark and foggy and large and tentacly, spiky, Last of Us-esque.
That was like one of the first ones, that Last of Us one.
We have like zombie critters. It just, it was not,
They were fun.
They were fun.
They were very fun.
Not the vibe.
So eventually, we found going pretty wasn't such a bad thing for these sparkly zapping fruit vines, as we came to call them. We went with matching the color palette with the evil alicorn Opaline, and having that connection, it was easy enough for the audience then to interpret that the vines were something evil and then they needed to get rid of them. So in the end, we could go as whimsical and pretty as we wanted to make sure that the scene still looked really inviting for kids to play. Plus, having the vines follow this rule really suited the franchise as well. Generation 4 delved a little bit into the spooky territory for a few episodes, but it wasn't really a connecting tone with Generation 5. Understanding the current brand really helped us solve this challenge and make the process faster.
All right, so let's go into our concept art techniques for this game. Let's start out with our stickers. An interesting challenge with them was that they needed to read clearly when on screen, yet still be fun and eye-catching and something that would inspire people to want to collect them. We also needed to think about the scenarios that would appeal to fans and take lore and narrative of the Generation 5 into consideration when thinking of them. So long story short, they had to be interesting, readable, on a small screen, and believable. We had to come up with some of techniques to make this process faster and easier because there were a lot of stickers we had to draw.
Our art director, Liz, who's in the crowd, came up with the idea to have them in the tell your tale style rather than imitating anything else. Because of this, it was important to create a style guide for us as a team to follow. We weren't supplied with one, so we had to study it on our own and really make sure that we were keeping things on brand so the audience could understand what we were referencing. Also, having us all work on these together was a really good way to keep each other in check, just in case we were branching off the style or, you know, just putting our own little flair on something where it might not be on brand. The stickers weren't like any other concept art we had done before as well. They weren't moving on to the 3D team as well, so they were going straight into the game. Polish, style consistency, and speed were key. With the research we gathered and the style guide as a reference, we were able to produce over 220 stickers, of which we used around 100, and these stickers end up being a really big fan favourite. Having a guideline to follow, our process became a lot easier and faster as well. And I mean, for each sticker that we did as well, there could have been like 10 or 20 different other variations as well. So
yeah, we had fun.
It almost goes into the thousands at one point. Right?
All right, so looking at how we climbed this mountain of items, moving on to items now, it became very clear that we would need to adopt a process and pipeline that would make this work more efficiently, yet creatively and appealingly. We needed to look at the other simplest ways to concept items and then reiterate them into multiple or even more sparkly ponified versions of itself, whilst not having to redraw or design a new shape from the foundation up. We had to design items with a strong enough silhouette for readability on a mobile device, but also needed to have items achieve more sparkle with each upgrade. This ended up with a lot of trial and error, as you can see. So items had to be consistent with Pony's colours and palettes for the audience to understand that the item belonged to the same progression tree and associated with that character. So we did this through like shape and whatnot. But yeah, the struggle was, how do you design a microphone 10 times with the same colour palette and with a grander appearance with each upgrade without it becoming unreadable?
So one way that we approached this was to design our base level item, say for the first 5 items, making it look really cool, on brand visually, and still fun, even just as a base thing. We could next look at designing the utmost ponified, bedazzled thing you could ever think of, so that would, out into the stratosphere, essentially. These initial takes would usually be very over-the-top, fun, and maybe pushing the boundaries of the brand pillars, but we found going bigger and better was better, as we can always turn it back if you needed to. So using each level as a gauge, we could then look at the in-between levels and decide what amount of sparkle was needed to modify our intermediate level items. This way, it became streamlined. For example, you could copy over designs and motifs used within each of your first or last level item and have the same design language across each item in between. So you can see on that top one there, taking across just even the colors and just the general shape design, and just make it feel really cohesive.
Yeah, adding more colors as well as we went could really tell that it was a major item.
Yeah. So here's an example of before we started following this process. These designs were pretty fun and awesome to work on, but without a beginning and an end, the process is endless, and you can't tell what's a before or an item or an after item upgrade. So that's just a small example of the amount of badges I did. Let's not go into the others. But yeah, they were very fun to work on. But yeah, you can kind of go carte blanche at one point. But yeah, they were really fun. So to fix this, we start out with a really basic 5-point star for Hitch's sheriff badge here. And then we looked at his other outfits and props and his whole character in general. From that, we could then start to think on how we might evolve the item into like a really cool, amazing looking badge. One that would belong to Hitch and not any pony else, right? So once we had that done, some iterations on that and building upon it, we had our intermediate levels of badges following the same process, using some reuse of shape, color palettes, cutie marks, silhouettes, and just trial and error. We eventually got to creating our item tree for it. Doing this saved us so much time, and we also had so much help from our 3D team on the items, as once some of our initial designs were approved and then modeled, it gave us some amazing rendered items that we could then easily change the camera angles on, lighting on, texturing, etc., and it made our work much quicker, and just in general, it's great.
Yeah. So one of the items that we had particular fun on was Sunny Smoothies. These were ones of one of our earlier concepts. And it was like our first item tree that we tackled.
Yeah.
So there was, at the beginning, there was a few ones that just weren't working and we couldn't figure out how to start. Like, were we going to start with fruit and then get to a final big smoothie, or were we just adding different colours? Yeah, so she likes to skate around Maritime Bay selling her signature smoothies to thirsty ponies. Well, we had an official design for these cups from the movie. We still needed to expand on it 9 times. The amount of variants we did probably was 90. To really expand on the item, we aimed to bring even some more fun and appealing characters and just bring Sunny's uniqueness and sparkle to them. The item tree was 10 levels or iterations, requiring a lot of concepts and trying to reference the brand pillars and whatnot. Multiple items went from being, say, a level 4 to a level 9, only to end up being a level 1. We went from combining fruits and to get to a smoothie at the end, but, the final item, it wasn't really working. So we went with really fun, wacky items, and we found that was really exciting for kids. And it was really just, we could be referencing Sunny's uniqueness and her vibe, and this is what we went with.
Oh, yeah. So
we also had a lot of help with our fantastic art team. There's only a few of them here. So we had the 3D team that really helped with, fixing up perspective and really making that process easier. We had amazing animations. We had amazing UI. Very grateful for our team. So working together and making sure we were all on track.
Yeah. So what's the best approach? Being creative, like with an established IP, and approaching these in like a fun and progressive way. Our time working on My Little Pony was like amazing. Like, it was so fun. And we really learned so much as like a concept art team and as a studio as well. We embraced the project and everyone was like really immersed in it. It was amazing. So looking at how our game developed over time, we discovered that much like the brand pillars of My Little Pony, which is creativity, kindness, courage, and confidence, it really enabled us to look at the project as like a really fun, fantastic opportunity to be creative with a fun and inspiring brand. We had to do our research and become fans ourselves and produce a really efficient plan to tackle a really large amount of concept work. And we had to do it with all the sparkle that we had.
And here's the payoff. It really made our work feel really good. The fans were enjoying our stuff. They appreciated that we stuck closely to what the characters were about, the style that Hasbro had initiated with them. Felt good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was good fun. So, bringing this kind of to like an end, what did we learn and what can we take away from today? So we looked at the importance of researching when concepting art. We looked at how to design for a younger audience and getting into the minds of children and their parents. How to be creative, how to create awesome ponified concepts that would have really broad appeal. Ways to understand a brand, its pillars, and to be creative. How to use different concept art techniques and iterate lots and lots, times a million, of designs. And how would these ideas help us be creative with an established IP? And how will we move forward from this as well?
Yeah, so thank you for listening. I'd also like to mention that Gameloft is branching out to a multi-consoles, and if that's something that interests you, that we're hiring. Trust us, you want to be a part of what we're cooking. Come join Every Pony if you would like.
4 ponies at?
Is there any questions? Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you touched on, sorry, that was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
That was really fun.
Thank you.
You touched on at the beginning 4 pillars and how you kept that consistent in your concept art. I'm just interested in what that process was, like, and how you went about that.
Yeah.
You talked about like hope and and things like that. I'm just wondering, how do you keep both in concept art, and if you had both?
Yep. So the question was, how did we look at those core pillars, which was hope and creativity, and how do we keep that in mind for our concept art? So it was basically like our team we had to work together and make sure that we all knew what we were doing. And if someone was branching off weirdly, it was correcting them. But it was also just making sure things felt really lively and magical, and that in itself had all those pillars to it. My Little Pony is like a very sparkly and refreshing thing. So just having fun with it, we felt like we were keeping those core pillars together.
Yeah, like I think it was really getting into the mind of the characters, because those characters are so imbued with those pillars, making sure that we really understood them when we were doing like poses, designs for them and stuff. Just knowing that really reinforced that. Like, you didn't really have to think, like, you know, you could look at Hitch and be like, yeah, he's a sheriff, he's cool, like, and he's got Sparky riding with his cowboy hat, he's awesome. But like, yeah, just having that as a base really reinforced that, and thinking of that really helped.
Any other questions? Yep.
Hell yeah. That was sick.
Thank you.
My Little Pony is a huge franchise.
Yes.
Did you get any help from Hasbro to get like visual or world consistency, or are you like sort of taking the reference in at the same time like audiences were?
Yeah, so the question was, how do we, did we get any help for Hasbro to keep things consistent, or did we do it ourselves? And it was kind of a bit of both. So we did work very closely with Hasbro. They were fantastic. They were part of the team, and they supplied us with a lot of content and how the initial base of how they would like things to work. There were things that hadn't been released yet, so we didn't have a lot of access to things, but we felt with what they had given us, we were able to grow on that. We had to do our own little big research to make that grow, but we also sent them what we were working on, and they would give us their opinion of if things were working or not as well.
Yeah, well, I think we definitely felt like confident given the amount of viz dev that they'd given us to build on that. You know, we had a lot of locations that hadn't been built out yet, but we can look at things and be like, okay, here's the design language of something. How can we translate that over from being a beach into a city, etc. Different things like that. Yeah, just simple things like that. But yeah, they gave us enough to work off from the get-go, I think. So.
Yeah, I think we've got to wrap up soon. So is there any last question or anything? Oh, all right. Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming.